At 11 a.m. on August 13, 2007, the fourth tropical depression of the season formed in the far Atlantic between the Windward Islands and Africa. The next day, the depression was upgraded to Tropical Storm Dean based on microwave data and quickscat measurements. Dean was rapidly moving west at 25 miles per hour. Here is the National Hurricane Center's 3-day forecast track as Dean closed in on the Lesser Antilles. Dean continued to get better organized over the next few days and was upgraded to the first hurricane of the season on August 16th at 5 a.m. A Hurricane Hunter aircraft, similar to this one, flew out the same day to investigate Dean, as well as the NOAA Gulfstream 4 high-altitude sampling jet to conduct a surveillance mission. Professional storm photographer Mike Tice, seen here in Hurricane Gordon at Cedar Key, Florida, decided to get the jump on the hurricane and flew to Puerto Rico. And then he caught a flight out to Dominica. Here are some photos as they approached Dominica. The landing was a bit rough. No, actually that was a plane that skidded off the runway a week earlier. Here's Mike's flight. Safe and sound. Here is a radar animation showing Dean's passage through the islands. Here is Dominica, Martinique, and St. Lucia. You can see the eye pass just south of Martinique, but notice that Dominica received copious amounts of rainfall. Here is some of Mike's video from Dominica. Notice what happens to all the rainfall collected on the high mountains. While the storm drains backed up with debris, the locals made the most of it and had some fun. The airlines were packed with people trying to fly out, so Mike had to take a 75-minute ferry north to Guadeloupe and catch a flight back to the U.S. Notice in the radar animation the eye of Dean becomes better organized. On August 17th at 1:45 Eastern Daylight Time, the National Hurricane Center issued a special advisory upgrading Dean to a dangerous Category 3 hurricane with sustained winds of 127 miles per hour. This was just the beginning. Looking again at the Hurricane Center forecast track, the next island in Dean's sights was Jamaica. I've never been to Jamaica and thought this would be the perfect opportunity for a hurricane vacation. I flew into Montego Bay, Jamaica on the morning of August 17th. I went to Half Moon Bay and settled in along the beach to shoot some pictures. That's yours truly loving the island life. Here's what you do during an approaching hurricane on vacation in Jamaica. Chill out and quench that thirst. I spent the night there but soon realized I needed to head to Kingston along the south shore in case Dean skirted the coast. Being from the U.S., driving on the left side of the road was alien to me, but the locals told me to drive along the northern coastal road to Ocho Rios, then head south to Kingston. Easier said than done. It's one of the scariest drives of my life. Luckily for me, the car in front of me appeared to be going to the same place. The next morning, I went down to the water to shoot some before Dean footage. Somehow I didn't sense the gloom and doom we have here in the U.S. with an approaching hurricane. You can always find some folks that put tape on windows. It doesn't really help, plus it leaves a sticky residue. High-rises are especially prone to wind damage. Some folks had the right idea by installing accordion-style shutters. Man, I love those. Most of the tourists were quickly catching the few remaining flights out of the Kingston airport. That is, the lucky ones. Some of the fishing boats ran to safe harbor. Further inland, you could definitely feel folks were getting ready for Hurricane Dean. Jamaica is dominated by mountains, mostly covered with lush green forest. Blue Mountain is the highest point, at 7,402 feet. I stayed at the Courtleigh Hotel just down the street from here. Dean was now a Cat 4, so I wanted to be in a real sturdy building with a backup generator. This is the view from my 6th floor room at the Courtleigh. As is usually the case, the day before a hurricane is unusually beautiful. Meanwhile, Dean is now up to 150 miles per hour, almost a monster Cat 5. The next day I wanted to head out and film approaching Dean. Here's the man of the hour, my cabbie Shaggy, who's actually been in a movie. Shaggy knew just where to take me to get some good storm surge. When we pulled up to the beach, huge waves were rolling in and the locals were taking it all in. couldn't stand it any longer and just had to get in the water with my surge can. The locals on the beach thought I was nuts and loved it every time a wave sent me tumbling. But little did they know I would get a laugh too. Shaggy and I went down the road toward the airport, and about 1 p.m. you could see the ocean was starting to breach the road. It was time to head back to Kingston before the road washed out, blocking our escape. I was uploading video back to Jeff Gammons in the U.S. when the first feeder ban hit. My sliding glass door shook violently, and all the hotel staff evacuated everyone to the safety of the lobby. I got my gear on and headed out to film the show.
Places?
Like where?
This big building. This motel over there, the lobby. They got a big overhang. A lot of people are out here. Dude, I got some good stuff from over there.
Here is a radar loop from Cuba of Hurricane Dean's passage just south of Jamaica. Notice how close the eye came to the southern shore. You can see from this graphic just how close it was for Jamaica. At the last hour, Dean wobbled just a tad to the west, keeping the northern eyewall just offshore from Kingston. Still, the center came within 20 nautical miles of Portland Port, close enough to bring hurricane-force winds to Kingston. Here are some more satellite images of Dean's approach to Jamaica. Veteran hurricane storm photographer Jim Leonard also flew down to Jamaica. Here he is interviewing NHC senior forecaster Lexiana Vila. Jim decided to head to Ocho Rios along the northern coast and film the huge waves and crazy storm surge action.
God, look at the huge wave coming there. God. Woo! Those things are massive. Look out! We're getting our hurricane gust. Yeah, that's a good one.
As I lost daylight, I went back to the Courtly and sent my footage back to the U.S. No sense in shooting at night. It was just too dangerous with debris blowing around. I got up the next morning and headed out to shoot the aftermath. Public Works had already cleared some of the fallen trees in the road. I ended up hitching a ride with a film crew from Jamaica News Network. They were en route to film the Yalas Bridge to the east, which was reported to have washed out from the mountain rain runoff. I told them I was filming for the U.S. networks, and they asked me to come along. What you don't see is the quarter-mile bridge that went across the river. The water must have come up 40 feet to take out the bridge. What a scary sight that must have been last night. Here's what storm surge will do to concrete structures. Simply amazing. Next up for us was the road to the airport. It was covered in dirt from the storm surge. Heavy equipment was out in force clearing the road with unbelievable speed. Just look how fast they maneuver those big rigs. As the bulldozers cleared out the road, we were one of the first ones to check out the airport. Damage was rather light, which meant it could get up and running soon. The bulldozers continued to clear the road to Port Royal at the end of the peninsula. The storm surge must have been incredible here to pile this much dirt up. Due to the hurricane, I ended up staying in Jamaica a couple extra days. I was in my motel room and heard a loud screaming outside my window for about 10 minutes before I looked outside. The adjacent Pegasus Hotel was on fire. I could see smoke coming from the main lobby entrance and the second lobby entrance. I also saw smoke at this location. I grabbed my video camera and ran out to film it. This is what I recorded.
still chopping the stairway. We don't have a mask. My daughter is in there. Two stories. 435. 435? Give me a map up there. Staircase.
was reported the fire was caused by an oversurge in the generator room. Hurricane Dean shut down the power grid, and sometimes there are problems when they turn it back on when businesses are on a generator. A few people were treated for smoke inhalation, but luckily no one was injured. I finally went to the airport to catch my flight out, but I wasn't the only one. I waited in line for 3.5 hours to check my bags in. It was so hot in there I think I lost 10 pounds of sweat alone. I caught a flight to Montego Bay, but the connecting flight to Atlanta was canceled, so I spent the night at a beautiful place near the airport called Hotel Gloriana, before flying out the next morning. My chasing Hurricane Dean was over, but Dean sure wasn't. To recap, Dean hit the Lesser Antilles as a Category 2, but quickly strengthened to a Category 3. From there, Dean moved toward Jamaica and strengthened to a Category 4. Now Dean threatened Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. Notice how the eye of Dean becomes more distinct in the satellite images with time. Having experienced hurricanes in the past, the people along the Yucatan coast had gotten the word and battened down the hatches for Dean's nighttime arrival. On the evening of Monday, August 20th, Dean had tapped into energy provided by the deep warm waters of the northwestern Caribbean and reached Category 5 status with an intensity of 160 miles an hour. Here's a satellite photo of the Eye of Dean making landfall near the cruise ship port of Costa Maya at around 3:30 a.m. local time. In this image, I placed the location of Mahawal and El Placer. Mahawal got the calm eye and a short break from the wind, but El Placer received the dreaded right side eye wall with full-on winds for the duration of the storm. Dean was intensifying right up to landfall. The pressure dropped even lower to 906 millibars, making it the 9th lowest on record for an Atlantic Basin hurricane. Here are some aftermath photos taken in the hardest hit areas of Mahawa and El Placer. Dean continued across the Yucatan where it weakened significantly. However, once over the warm water fuel source, it strengthened back to a Category 2 hurricane just before going inland on August 22nd around midday. The center made landfall near the town of Tecolutla, about 40 miles south-southeast of Tuxpan, Mexico. Hurricanes are one of the most destructive forces on our planet, but as destructive as they are part of the delicate and necessary balance of our atmospheric ecosystem, the place we call Earth, the third planet from the Sun. We as storm photographers are fascinated with these intense storms and driven by our passion to film them at their worst throughout the world. We bring back this incredible footage to share with those that weren't there, so that they can be better prepared for the next one and maybe even experience some of the awesome power and beauty of a hurricane.